Hey everyone, Steezy here, and today I'm going to be doing a video on how to add more shelves to your Detolfs. So the stock Detolfs come with just 4 shelves, 3 glass and 1 bottom base. And if you're displaying a lot of small things like Transformers or like action figures, it's very space inefficient. So I decided to add several more shelves to my Detolfs. And there are several challenges to doing so. So I thought I would do a video for you guys so you can get an idea of what you're gonna have to go through to make it possible. So there are a couple different methods of doing so. I've got 2 different methods that I've got set up. So I'm gonna start here with the first one that I did, which is the easiest way to do it. At the hardware store you can find these wire clamps, and what you do is you get 4 of them and just put them on at a certain height, tighten them down, and then with 4 of them in place, you've got enough support for a shelf to rest on. So each of those is like about, I think, $1.50 depending on where you get it. Even online they're not much cheaper, even if you buy in bulk. So each shelf is going to cost you like $6 worth of those clamps. So it's not going to necessarily be a cheap way to just add more shelves, but it is the easiest and quickest, because all you need to do is put that on, tighten it down, and you're done. I do not like this method at all. It's, for one, ugly because you can see that clamp there. It looks obviously like a very poor hack, and it's also very difficult to get the clamps exactly even, so the shelves can kind of wobble. So that's another downside. So that's the first method I did, and then I did some more research and came up with another method. What I'm going to do actually is light up the second Detolf so you guys can see it a little bit better. Alright, this is the second method I came up with, and as you can see, I've added more bars, just like the bars that come on the Detolfs to begin with. This method is quite a bit more difficult. There are a lot of extra steps you've got to do, but the end result is a lot better. So for the bars, what I did was I bought 6-foot lengths of this 1/4-inch steel rod. I think it was like $5 or $6 for a 6-foot length. To cut this, you're gonna need a bandsaw. I have access to a bandsaw, so it was easy for me to just go through and cut up a whole bunch of these. But if you don't have a bandsaw, cutting it by hand with like a hacksaw is gonna take a very long time. But if you only have like 1 or 2 Detolfs, it won't be so bad. So to attach them, what I used was this Loctite Ice Hull 9462 adhesive. You need the cartridge and the gun for mixing it, and I just mixed it up by hand. One thing you need to do is wash both the rack and the bar very, very well with alcohol. I washed both like a few times to really get off all the oil, especially the steel rod, which comes coated in like a grease. So you need to make sure both are very clean when you're applying the adhesive. And what I did was I measured out where I wanted to put each shelf. Then I used like a popsicle stick and applied some on the rack itself and also on the end of the rods, and kind of stuck them both together, and just then double checked my measurements, make sure everything was all lined up perfectly. Unfortunately, this stuff takes 3 days to fully cure. I was able to put the shelves back together after 1 day, and after like a day and a half or so you can put the glass back on it because it'll be strong enough, but it reaches a full cure in 3 days, 72 hours. So it's a very slow process, and I went through and did each of these like one at a time, so it took quite a long time to get them all done. And if you noticed, they kind of match the silver of the rack. That's because I painted each one after it had fully cured, and what I used was this Testors spray enamel. It's gloss metallic silver, and the number on that is 1246. And that was pretty much a perfect color match to the original silver. So I just painted the steel rods that I added, as well as the epoxy joints that I had created. And yeah, it's a very strong bond, so I'm not worried about the glass shelves like breaking free and falling. I did have a couple steel rods break free like as soon as I had put them on, but I think that was just because I may have not cleaned the surface well enough and probably not used as much epoxy as I should have. But there was only like 2 shelves out of the dozens I've done, and it was quick to just put a bit more epoxy on and stick it back in place. So that's the shelves part of it. There's also obtaining more glass shelves and that's another challenge because it's pretty expensive to buy tempered glass, which is what these shelves are. I was actually lucky, and in my basement I had a whole bunch of sheets of normal glass, window glass. It wasn't tempered or anything, so Googling some tutorials on how to cut glass, I was able to cut a whole bunch of shelves out of those big pieces of glass I had. I didn't have enough to cover all of them, so I did have to buy some tempered glass shelving. I think I only bought 5 new shelves, and I was able to cut the rest. And each shelf I bought was like $25 for each piece, so it was pretty expensive. And if I were to have to buy shelves for all of these Detolfs that I've added shelves to, it would have cost several hundreds of dollars. So I was lucky and had some glass handy, but definitely check out your local, glass distributors or cutters, or definitely check local and see what options they have and get quotes for prices and everything. So the problem with the non-tempered stuff is that it can shatter. So if you have small children, it's very dangerous to have non-tempered glass, because if it shatters, it's very sharp and it can cause some serious injuries. So I think that pretty much covers the process of adding more shelves to these Detolfs. I varied up the shelf heights because I have different sized things I want to display. So for instance, this one has 6, but this one also has 6, but the shelves are 12 inches on this one, they're 10 on this, and I just left one at the top that's like a 6-inch shelf. Like over here, there's 5 shelves. That one over there is another 6. This is another 5. This one here is an 8. I got several small shelves, better for action figures and stuff and small items, except for the bottom, which I left larger because you really couldn't see anything in the bottom shelf. So I left that bigger, so put a couple bigger items because they are easier to see. And yeah, I was able to probably triple the amount of things I can put into my Detolfs. As you can see, I've got quite a lot of stuff to display and an 8 Detolfs, so it was quite the improvement. And even though it is pretty expensive and time consuming, it's definitely worth it. And you do need to take apart each Detolf as you do this and let it sit for several days as it dries. So it's definitely a slow process. All right guys, that's gonna do it. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this was helpful, and we'll see you next time. Bye.